In John Ortberg's book, Soul Keeping, today we're going to be looking at the session that deals with the meaning of the soul. He poses that the most important word in the Bible is the soul. And you kind of think, well, if somebody asked you what a soul is, what would you say? How would you describe it? Is it something you have to nurture or care for? How does it affect your daily living? Didn't science at one point show that the soul doesn't even exist? These are questions that we can ask, and today I hope that we can dig deeper as we look in the first two chapters of his book. One philosopher even states that there's really no place in science at all for the idea, the concept of a soul. And yet, we refer to it when we speak of things that seem to hold depth of meaning. When we refer to certain forms of the arts or music, it has soul. It's often a term, of course, that we use in religious settings, referring to the very nature of the center of human meaning and purpose. So we're going to take a look at that today. What is the soul, and how do we understand it, and how does it affect our lives? We speak of the soul as a source of strength, and yet we refer to it as being very fragile. Douglas Copeland refers to saying about the soul that it is, of course, something he doesn't deserve, but he knows it exists because it hurts. And so when we look at the soul, we look at its depth of meaning, and sometimes we refer to looking into the eyes of a person as a window to their soul. And so these experiences or understanding change us. Studies have even showed that our eyes can reflect things such as our observing beauty, or our eyes respond when we feel like we're about ready to give up. And sometimes they'll tell us, of course, if we're telling the truth or not. I don't know what I should do with my eyes on that statement. But that's a reason why poker players often wear sunglasses in the building. The eyes is a window to the soul. As a pastor, I'm often trying to support and care for people in terms of their inner life, that spiritual life that they live. It's difficult because so often we think the outer world of our lives really is what makes us happy. And we think if we get the right home or the right job or the right status, the right amount of money, get the right child, all these things we look at to bring us happiness, but really at the depth of it there's something more, and we realize that. And that is where we're understanding the soul can make a difference to help us get beyond circumstances as a means simply to know how we feel. But to have a depth of soul that connects us with God, that makes all the difference. Willard talks about there's 4 parts of the human being, and each part of that human being must be healthy and working as God intended it. And that's what really makes a healthy soul. So the first, we have the inner circle. And this inner circle, of course, is our will. And we know that it has the capacity to choose. The will is what makes you a person and not a thing. It's important. But it also is extremely limited. The second circle is the mind, the person's thoughts and feelings. Of course, the mind, that is a person's thoughts and feelings. The mind is a place that struggles, and the mind, if not controlled and centered in God, struggles for peace and sometimes becomes sinful. Then the third circle is the body. Now the body are like our little power packs. We couldn't be us without them, but they are not the whole story. They are not just the stuff that our bodies are made of. And finally, the final circle, and that is the soul. The final circle, the soul, is the human soul, is what integrates all the different parts of a single person. A healthy soul is an integrated soul, and an unhealthy soul is a disintegrated one. When we aren't allowing our will and connection with our mind and our bodies to be integrated, we find ourselves broken and separated. So that's why knowing and understanding the soul becomes an important part of what it means to live into God's purpose. So when we consider what the soul is, we find it is a part of our makeup. We understand that at the center is the will and how we think about it in our mind, and how we hold everything together in our body. And the soul plays that part of integrating it all and finding depth and meaning of our lives. So that's what we're going to journey with as we continue on in this series of being soul keepers.